send our greetings to our friends who are listening from afar. Just know that some of us were once there as well. Today's message is Yahweh, Esteem and Value. I am Brother Jevon. I'm from Chicago originally. I was blessed to be able to move down here from a city I once kind of considered as a spiritual cesspool. But as we know with one of the prophets, there's rarely a place where Yahweh's name isn't. So even going back home, I do get to visit with some brethren that were along my journey. This title today, Yahweh Esteem, initially I thought was a new concept to me. I had not heard it before until my mother, and then in speaking with her, where she even got the concept from. She got it from nowhere. It was something that I guess Yahweh is inspired, but then taking a look on the web and comes to find out, it's been done before. There's nothing new under the sun. This is kind of the run of the mill, but I'm not sure how many people, they had it, of course, under God esteem, not Yahweh esteem. Though the writings, there's a lot of fruit in the writings. Not sure, but I had never heard it before. For me, it's new. For some of you here, it may be a new thing. Maybe it's old. Maybe you've heard it before. But maybe I can give you a little bit of nugget on my thoughts as Yahweh has given them to me that makes you consider some things. My goal today is to edify, reassure, educate, and of course, glorify Yahweh. That is the main thing. That is why we come to the feast. That is why we come to Sabbath. When we try to figure out our why in this life, it's not so much, well, I've got to go to work, or I've got to go to Sabbath, or I'm supposed to congregate. We're trying to figure out our why. Why does Yahweh want us here? What were we born for? Why did he even allow me to exist? Maybe you weren't conceived right. Maybe you come from a broken home. It's not the point. It's the why. And esteeming Yahweh and finding our value. This is what my message primarily is about. Now, in the educating vein of things, I want to clarify a few words. For instance, shy and bashful. We use these words interchangeably, and they're not the same. They're close, but they diverge at one particular point. But we do not have a command of our language a lot of times, and bashful has even fallen out of use. So for here, I used Merriam-Webster's, and one of the great things about Merriam-Webster's, they have a section for people who are just beginning to learn English, and it's almost more basic. So these are the definitions that I'm using. Shy, easily frightened. This is the main point between these two. There's fear involved. Not so much that you may be like the little child that an adult comes up to, hey, how are you doing? And they go behind mom's skirt or dad's pants leg. That's not fear there. That would be the other. But easily frightened, disposed to avoid a person or thing, hesitant in committing oneself. Help yourself if you want more. Don't be shy. You come to someone's house and they feel that you belong there. They're no longer going to serve you. Have all you want. Please take it. And bashful. Again, this is the word that I think a lot of people want to use when they speak of their young children. Oh, they're just shy. They're not scared. They're bashful. So it's nervous or uncomfortable in social situations, afraid to talk to people because of lack of confidence. Bashful boys asking girls to a dance. Now, I was not born in the faith. I grew up in a secular home with a moderate amount of Christian upbringing. I remember going to my first prom. As a matter of fact, my first prom was one that was done by a church. And I remember asking the girl to dance, and my hands were very, very sweaty. I was bashful. I wasn't confident in myself. I mean, I knew I was an all right guy, but I understand bashful because I've been there, and maybe you have too. Now, what we're moving on to now is the crux of things. People confuse as well self-esteem, self-confidence. They kind of sound the same. It's focused on self. You have that beginning of it, but then the esteem and the confidence, they're different. Self-esteem is a feeling of having respect for yourself and your abilities. Under the ladylike demeanor, Kemp sensed the iron of self-esteem. She carried herself in a certain way, and it is said that every girl that is blessed to grow up becomes a woman. Same thing with a boy, become a man. You don't have a choice about that. But the decisions that you make going forward from there, whether you're going to be average or you're going to make a calling to a decision for a higher calling, you're going to be better. That's what makes a lady or a gentleman. And these things can be exuded. People can see these things. You're carrying yourself a certain way. And self-confidence, having or showing confidence in yourself and your abilities. Here's the opposite. He lacks the self-confidence to speak his mind. Maybe he's got something to say, but he's scared. So you see that self-confidence or self-esteem, these can also lend to both positive and negative things. But again, it's all about self. In our society, things are running where we try to figure out, how can I be better? Or what am I measuring up to? When we look at society standards, we're going to fall very short because our confidence needs to come from, as many have called it, providence, our sovereign, Yahweh, our maker. This is where we need to find value. If we're finding it in commercials and cosmetics and surgeries, this is where we're faltering because we have a false sense of who we are and the value that he actually put on us. We were bought with a price. Now, in Missouri, though it is a more conservative state, I found when I first moved here that there were a couple of billboards around, and I just I laughed at them. I'm like, well, this is what society thinks of you. And of course, people pay for it. Now, originally, plastic surgery, there was nothing wrong with it because they were using it to save lives. But then it got more down to the common people. We can make you better. We can make you stronger, faster. We can make you more acceptable. People will like you. This sign here, it says confidence is power. Now, if you removed all the imagery and everything, confidence and power, there's nothing wrong with that. There are times where I've sought to get brethren, hey, I need you to do a prayer, or I need you to read Torah, and it almost sounded like Moses. I'm not that confident. I don't read so well. Yahweh didn't exactly appreciate when Moses said that. It made him a little angry because Yahweh was supposed to be his confidence. I'm not sure if Aaron was going to be in the plan in the first place, but Aaron wound up getting plugged in because Moses lacked confidence to do as Yahweh said. He was slow in speech. But is this how we take our strengths? Confidence, power. This billboard, I'm a broadcasting major originally, and words have a lot of power. This originally said beauty is power. And I laughed because I'm like, how is that going to fly? And sure enough, a few months after that, it got changed to confidence is power. I'm sure there was a lot of negative feedback because even though society is where it's at, there's still a moral fiber that has not been worn away. Now, as you go up 63 a little bit more, going towards Columbia, there's another billboard. Size, shape, style. They can make you. It's like the old show when I was a kid, The $1 Million Man, I believe. Guy was all broken up, and they put bionics in him and made him faster and stronger. What are they really saying? What are we really saying when we submit to these things? And most people don't say it because they're like, well, it makes me feel good. Another saying is, if it makes you feel good, do it. All things that make us feel good are not always edifying and profitable if you are actually seeking to attain the kingdom. Now, sadly, we look around and the envelope is being pushed. It's been pushed before I was a kid. I'm 42 years old, but I know I remember black and white TV. I remember having 2 knobs on a station. I remember having, I think it was 7 stations total. This is before the advent of, I don't know how many channels are on a cable now, but there was more structure. TV actually shut off at a certain amount of time. You didn't have 24/7 programming. But now we've got entertainment. We've got things to make you feel good and to keep your mind busy. They've got ways to have a foothold in your life personally. And once someone does get a foothold in your life, once they've just gotten just a little bit, there's no delete button. It's there. Now, the battle for our mind, time and their dollars is real. And many of they want the real estate. They want to be able to say that they've got that. I mean, there's a lot of money that goes in. This is psychology. This is, if you want to call it spirit, I mean, I could imagine it as being spirit because these are things that we cannot touch. The words, how they impact us. Now, conservative Missouri again. This is conservative Missouri, but as time passes on, we see changes. We see envelopes being pushed. I don't know what this next governor will be doing. Not everything. There will be pushback, and then some things have been set up for some time. But the bottom line is the problem for potential, for focus on self, is our downfall. If we do really recall, Satan gets put away for 1,000 years, but people have to still basically be retaught and relearned because his influence is gone, but then there's still mankind's nature. Now, is Yahweh found by the proud or the self-righteous? Does he answer to them? What does the Bible say about self-pride? I'm running through a few here. James 4:6. Elohim resists the proud. Ezekiel 28:17. Your heart was lifted up because of your loveliness. We're familiar with this one, right? It's talking of Lucifer. This is before he was kicked out of the mountain. Proverbs 28:26. He who trusts in his own heart is a fool. The heart is fickle. Galatians 6:3. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. Self-pride gets us nowhere. It does. It's as shallow as maybe even a foot pool. You decide to lay in it, you'd just be on the bottom. You wouldn't get no buoyancy. Now, what about faith in our fellow man? Our man can deliver us, right? Man can only go as far as Yahweh allows him, whether that be good to save us, because Yahweh works through people. He always works through people. He works through, if you want to say animals, they had that donkey to talk to the prophet. But he works through us. Faith in man's downfall. Jeremiah 17:5. Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength. Psalms 118:8. It is better to take refuge in Yahweh than to trust in man. And verse 9, than to trust in princes. Those people who have power and influence. Those people in government. Yes, we do pray for our government leaders and hope that they still have some shred of righteous decency to actually be public servants as they're supposed to be. And of course, that we would be able to have a worship life of peace instead of being persecuted and possibly going underground, as our brethren from the past have so been inclined to do. In Isaiah 2:22, stop regarding man in whose nostrils is breath, for of what account is he? Faith in man. Man can fail us. He can deliver us because Yahweh has deemed it so, or certainly they can do evil. Look at Joseph. What did he do to get thrown in the pit? What did he do to get thrown into that dungeon? You know that the dungeon is not on the level with the regular prisons. It is the lowest part of the castle. And he was shackled. And for what? Because he got accused, wrongly accused. He was persecuted. And some of us may know that feeling. Some of us have actually maybe been just blessed to live lives of peace. And I say hallelujah to you. And maybe, I pray that no one gets sifted like that. Now, I'm going to move on to what is it to have Yahweh esteem? There are stages to this. And every child goes through a stage of learning. And one of those first things that we hear is mine and no. And it's a rare occasion that a child is ever in a position that they actually are more giving. And I've run into a few of those, and I'm always surprised. Sometimes, just like with people, I like to test children to see if they're going to do the typical thing. I want to know people, and I delight in knowing people. And occasionally a child will amaze me, and they'll actually want to give something. And I'll tell, either I've taken it, or I've just told them, hey, thank you. You surprised me. I know there are some children really here in the assembly that I was really surprised of how they're just, I don't want to say really good-natured, but I was amazed. And I even took them out for ice cream. And I asked their parents, like, what did you do? How did they turn out like this? Because it was this exceptional. I mean, if a deed is exceptional, I think it deserves a reward. But Yahweh bless them, because it surely is his hand in things. Now again, it's understood well enough to elicit the no in mind. But what we need to understand is that we need our reminders. There was a fad in the 80s, maybe it was in the 90s, I don't remember exactly. I didn't have it myself, but we remember the bracelets here. WWJD. Show of hands, how many people actually remember those? Yeah, there we go, there's a good majority. And then most of the young have no clue, so maybe it was in the 80s. I don't know. 90s? Thank you. 90s. I'm 42 years old. But it was a great concept. It was, I think maybe I didn't get it because I didn't consider myself a holy roller at that time. But a lot of my Christian friends did have it, and a lot of them were in church. And, I think it was almost like the tassels. You look at the tassels and it reminds you of the commandments. They looked at this, and I hope that they looked at it and they just weren't wearing it because their friends were doing it, so I'm going to do it. But they looked at it and maybe they stopped in certain situations to consider, what would he do in this situation? After all, he is given to us to look upon, to see the goodness that Yahweh is. So for the young, this WWJD, it stands for what would Jesus do? Of course, what we would say is, what would Yahshua do? It's easy when everything is smooth to go ahead and do those things that are right and good in Yahweh's eyes. So remember the lessons that we got from children's class or youth class or Bible study or the round table discussions that happen or at the feasts. But then what happens when stress comes and our mind kind of shuts down and we're just emotion? Do we stop and consider? I know just the other day while we were working, somebody was normally I would be a little snappy, somebody reaching over and taking the things from my side of the line. But then I just decided, I'm just like, okay, go ahead. And I just kind of had a laugh about it. And somebody else said something about it. And after thinking, it's like, oh, I know why he said something, because it threw him off. But I understood that. But I just laughed. I didn't let it get me upset. It was funny to me. But we have to consider, what would Yahshua do in these situations? Yahshua was a friend. He was a mentor to many. He was not cliquish. He did not turn anyone away. He spoke with people. He communicated with people. He exuded the things that the kingdom should be about. He loved, he laughed, he cried. These are the things that we should think upon when we come into these stressful situations, to help build ourselves up, because we don't want to build ourselves up from the physical sense of what the world considers is good, but we want to build ourselves up with what Yahweh has said is good. We have his word with it. And yes, there are conversations. What's the best Bible to use? I think at the core of the lesson, no matter how you may move a few words around, if you're studying, you will get the core of the lesson if you want to get that. You can find out what Yahweh thinks is good and what Yahweh thinks is bad, what Yahweh thinks is righteous and what is unrighteous. That has nothing to do with names or titles. These are simple concepts. It's 2 and 2 is 4. The only confusion sometimes happens is I was listening to the radio and the preacher said something about he keeps the Sabbath sometimes. And I had to wonder, what Sabbath is he talking about? I called them, but I didn't wasn't able to speak with them. But that is confusing when a regular Christian pastor says to keep the Sabbath. Which Sabbath does he speak of? Is he speaking of the old understanding that the LORD's day is the Sabbath, or the one that everyone is starting to come to understand, that the Sabbath is the seventh day? Now, as we look here, I've got a slide. We desire to get back on the horse, don't we? Old concept. Get knocked off the horse, get up. This is winners never quit, quitters never win. When you say that I will try to do something, you just saying I'm trying, you've gone in there with a failure mentality, because to try means that, okay, I tried it and I'm going to move on. Yahweh does not want lukewarm believers. You got to be hot or cold. It's written in the scriptures. Don't be lukewarm or you'll get spewed out. And since the fact that nobody knows when their day is, and just this last year, I've seen older and younger than me fall to the left and to the right. Do I have 70 or 80 years like my grandmother, like the genealogy seems to say? I don't know. Tomorrow could be not. So if I choose to wait another day to get on the right path, to repent, to change how I treat my fellow man, and what if I die in that? Then what? I have answers, of course. Everybody's got answers. Well, you've got questions to be answered. And we can't hide from the judgment there. But this is Vince Lombardi there, to give him credit. Winners never quit and quitters never win. It's the same thing, what I believe with so many things. If you sign a contract, are you bound by your word still? Israel backslid. Yahweh still kept his word. Here's an example there. If Yahweh is if he's the all of all, and he keeps his word, even when we mess up, aren't we supposed to exemplify that? Or have we found a loophole in the law? Well, let's think again. In Spanish, this letters here, WWJD, that would be Que haría Yahshua. What would Yahshua do? We do have to consider those things. What would he do? How would he? Didn't he take his confidence in life? He wasn't well loved. He had people who walked away from him, especially as his teachings got deeper. He had people who wanted to persecute him, not because of a good deed, but supposedly because he made himself equal with Elohim. Yahshua did the things right. He had people who wanted to persecute him because he sat with sinners. Oh no, if he was a prophet, he would know what type of woman or person that this woman was. But Yahweh is our measuring stick. Yahshua is the measuring stick. Should we say he is the manifestation of the kingdom here? We look at his life. Did he roll in cliques? No. Was there a circle? Was there an inner circle? Absolutely. And those were the people who stuck with him. And there's nothing wrong with an inner circle. But he welcomed everybody. If you were going to go ahead and come along the journey, he certainly had room for you. There wasn't just the 12. There were more disciples than the 12. And there were more people that listened to him. Of course, there were some people who didn't have the confidence because of the world, and they might be rejected, to be disciples of his in secret. Is there a penalty for that? I have no clue. There's nothing that says that Nicodemus denied Yahshua in front of his compatriots, but he still was his disciple, and he gave him respect. Our confidence, our measuring stick, who we are, what our value is, has to be drawn from heaven. If it's not drawn from heaven, then we have some weak spots in us that while we have breath, we have to shore those up. We have to pray for that. Can an extrovert dial back and not just be all up in everything and has to be at the front of the line? Absolutely. Let somebody else, give somebody else opportunity. Can an introvert step out a little bit, extend themselves? Absolutely. You don't have to keep yourself closed up. The person that keeps themselves closed up, and as even in an assembly such as ours, even in society, what if they have excellent abilities or some they could help somebody else, but no one else knows it because they keep to themselves? They're hiding themselves away. In essence, I see that as hiding your talent. We don't want to hide our talents. Now, in order to discover more of our talents, we do have to pray, because the Yahweh esteem that we're seeking of what makes us measure up, it's not this outer exterior. It's not because we are the most beautiful or we get the most attention. I was a wannabe at times. I understand that. I used to do things. I used to straighten my hair, hoping that more people would like me. Yeah, it didn't work. It took a long time before I kind of figured it out. And even more time before I came to the faith and understanding that it's Yahweh where we get our strength. It's Yahweh where we grow from. And it's Yahweh where we want to have the service to. You can read the Bible all day and you can discover this stuff, but what if you still never come to the fact of, now I'm going to take what Yahweh has given me and put it in service to him, to To the young people, and sometimes when they're searching and thinking about careers, I tell them, whatever you want to do, consider how it can help you to serve Yahweh. If it's just about making money, then I think our occupation and our mindset may be off, and I could be wrong. But we do want jobs that will allow us to be able to come and worship, to come to the holy times. If it doesn't allow us to do that, the potential is, do we want to set ourselves up for that strife? Does Yahweh want us to set ourselves up for that strife? I don't know, but I don't think I would willingly put myself. The job that I came into literally the doors were blown off thanks to another brother, and maybe it was already set for that. But I'm happy for it. Yahweh blessed me with it. It's not the greatest job, but Yahweh has opened the door, and I'm willing to work with that. Again, let us consider, what would Yahshua do in these days and times? If we are getting our measurement, whether you be male or female, child, we have peers, we have friends, they can hamper us or they can help us. And the more that they're in the faith, certainly it is going to help us to consider and to think and to keep us on the right path. Otherwise, the more friendship that we have with the world, the more that they're able to get a more real estate in our lives and to influence us, and maybe even just to keep us shackled in a dungeon instead of coming to the light and being free and having confidence. Consider these words, my friends. I pray it's been a blessing, and may every blessing of Yahshua be upon you.
Thank you for watching today's teaching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date with all our latest releases. To stay connected to this ministry, download our mobile app. It's available in the App Store for Apple or Android. Simply search Yahweh's Restoration Ministry. Visit our extensive website at yrm.org. We have hundreds of teachings for men and women alike, and new articles added every week. Join our growing online congregation and watch us live every Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Central Time by visiting yrm.org/live or following the live worship link on our mobile app. See below in the description on this video for many of the other ways to connect with us. Blessings and shalom.